welcome back to my channel. I am here today with the person that I was talking about in my lip injections video, Miss Lynette.
I feel like a newscaster with like a...
I know, I do too. We've got this table. Hi guys, welcome back to Tea Talk. And we've got my thermos full of tea and her...
I'm gonna get so much hate for this. It's an all-natural, gluten-free, organic...
vegan...
cage-free energy drink.
Sugar-free. Cheers to that. Dan's really excited right now. To those of you that don't know, Dan is also obsessed with Monster Energy drink. He wears the hat very frequently.
Yes.
I'm like, Dan.
Team spirit.
He literally said to me today, he's all, I just want you to know that if Monster ever wanted to sponsor me, I'd take it. That's all.
Keep your eye out for the email.
Fine, Dan. We're gonna keep our eyes peeled. So, yeah, I mentioned Lynette in my lip injections video. If you didn't say that, go check that out. But I was just saying that she is such an awesome person. We met because of YouTube. Because you were watching me before we met.
I've been watching Nikki for almost a decade.
No way.
Like literally since she started.
You can't round up that much. I've been doing it 7.5 years.
Okay, so 7.5 years then. I think it was when my husband like went out of state for school. Well, we weren't married at the time, but he went out of state for school, and so I was in college and I was taking like 18 or 20 credit hours, which is like a ton.
Yeah.
And so I had no free time to do anything. So literally I like just found YouTube. I was like, this is all I can have time for with my life is YouTube. And I found you filming in your basement like TJ Maxx hauls and stuff like that. And I was like, this girl makes shopping sound so exciting.
It's because it is really exciting, Lynette. That's the reason. So she's been watching me for like a long time, and then she started commenting on stuff. And I mean, I didn't like notice or whatever. I was just going about my life. But Dan must have gone on and like seen the Monster like obsession. I don't know. It's actually really funny. A lot of people in my life that I'm friends with were like found by my other family members. And I'm like, Dan, oh, who are you following? Like, he's like, oh, Lynette, like, you know, she watches our stuff. And I go on, I'm like, oh, she's really cute. And so then I just started following her. And then she started making videos, or maybe I think you already had been making videos at that point, because that was part of how I like researched you. And I just fell in love with her. I think I've seen every single video you've put up on your channel, some of them multiple times. Oh. And in real life, she's exactly the same. I said this once again in that lip injection video that I keep plugging. She's just a really like wise, well-spoken, driven, articulate, which means the same thing as well-spoken, person in just like so many areas. Even we were just talking, I'm like, what are we even going to talk about in this tea talk? Because there's like 12 different directions that I could go with her, and you guys would be like, because she's just so smart and aware, and yeah, so
thank you.
That's Lynette's introduction to the tea talk world.
And I think the moral of the story here is that if you find someone on YouTube that you really like, if you just keep stalking them and their family members, eventually they'll be your friend.
Exactly.
Is what the moral of the story
I mean, I just had that happen yesterday. Someone that I've been stalking just like they followed me. I was like, they followed me.
And now we're getting lunch. Magic, guys.
We're getting lunch. Oh my gosh. I was like freaking out. I texted Dan a screenshot. I was like, look.
That's awesome.
It is kind of true. I mean, self-awareness too, but it's true. Also, on a side note, I feel like I gotta move this way because it's bothering me that there's more space on my side than yours. So
centered.
I know. That's
We're
better,
so
right?
centered.
Like newscasters. Hey guys. Okay, so where do we want to start? I'm like, do we want to go off the food direction, the spiritual direction, the business direction?
Well, let me talk a little bit about me and Nikki. We're so different in a lot of ways, and it's crazy that we get along so well because we're so similar, but we're so different.
I see the similarities though so highlighted. Like even though when you say that, I'm like, yes, I totally see our differences. Like I literally don't even think I've ever had a monster in my life. But like I pretty much just only see our similarities. Like when we talked yesterday, I was like, dang, this girl and I can just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
Yes, and it's funny because before you were coming, I was like, I mean, me and Nikki have like our life mission is very similar and our personalities are pretty similar, but like I feel like everything else is different. And then we got together and I was like, oh God, like we just clicked in a million ways. But so what I do for a living is I'm an online personal trainer. So my life is like super fitness and like that's just my thing. And so, you know, my social media stuff, all the stuff that I do on social media is really largely based around
fitness,
and because I'm an online personal trainer, that's really my job more so than YouTube right now. That's what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, is running a business. So I'm not just running like my YouTube channel, that's part of it, but I'm running a business. And so that's kind of what I do, which is like, if there's one thing Nikki and I just really don't talk about that much, it would be fitness, because like, you know, like Nikki's in a position where I'm
super fit. Just kidding. I'm really not that fit.
Well, and also,
yeah, go on.
Well, I was gonna say, and also, like, that's just not like your passion. It's not your passion to be like.
No.
I mean, like, I've like done like bodybuilding competitions, bikini competitions.
It's totally different.
And stuff.
Even me at my most fit, I was never like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like real fit.
Right. So. But over the years, like, a lot has changed for me, and Nikki's had a huge influence on like the way that I see food and like the stuff that I. You know, just the way that I've changed and progressed in a good way, to kind of take me out of the extremes of like the fitness world. If any of you guys are into like fitness social media or anything, you know that there's a lot of like pressures and things that with social media to be super fit, to have like the biggest booty and like all these weird things.
So funny.
And I used to be so immersed in that, and now like I'm kind of stepping away from that.
I was in the mirror and I like turned around and I'm like, Lynette's probably so bummed about my booty. I was like, my booty sucks. Oh well, time to go out and make my tea.
Well, I'm taking on new clients if you need help.
I know, we're already talking about working together, so hey. Yeah, no, but it's a different world entirely.
Completely different. So it's funny because even within each type of social media, there's different communities. Mm-hmm. So like I go on like your YouTube channel and your Instagram page, and I see like the people following you and what they're kind of thinking about and talking about their concerns. And it's just so different from my community, which is funny because like all of our followers are probably like all in college together or like all living their lives together, and yet the focus is just so different. And it's interesting too, just like the different dynamics in terms of like health, like what that looks like to different people. So you guys, this is your channel, so obviously you guys know how Nikki eats, like so like just well, and like that's the word I always say. I try to describe Nikki is just like wellness, not like perfect, not with a label or anything, but just vegetables, fruit, water, things that are good for your body. You know, avoiding things that are like not good for your body, and that's her passion, and that's so cool, and I love that, and that's inspired me so much. But then also, you know, you go over to the fitness side of things, and the view of health starts to change a little bit. It's almost like, okay, we're not just taking into account that my body is healthy, my blood level is good, like, you know, my labs would be good, hypothetically, but that, you know, now we're bringing in aesthetics into it. And how you look. And so it's interesting now I've been a personal trainer for 4 years. There's a difference, unfortunately, in just like super good healthy eating versus what people tend to do in order to look a certain way.
Totally. I feel like it takes a certain like type of eating to achieve a certain look.
Because the type of body that unfortunately a lot of people are going for is a body that's actually not natural for them. So genetically, this is such a random talk, but okay, let's go with it.
We're rolling.
Genetically, we're all kind of built to be a certain way. So like whatever your body looks like when you're just like living your life and you're like not stressed, you're not like overeating, you're somewhat active, whatever that body looks like, that's probably the body that you were like kind of intended to have. Your genetics have decided this is how much muscle you'll have, this is how much body fat you'll have, and it's always kind of, they call it like your preset weight or something. And so in order to change that, you do have to do some more extreme things. You do have to, you know, either go on a diet, or you have to have a specific diet, or have a specific workout regimen.
Like a certain nutrient.
And a specific workout regimen and stuff. And so that's cool that we know how to control those elements so that we can get into like super killer shape. But it's interesting because still at the end of the day, what we're actually doing is fighting our body against its homeostasis. So it's, you know, being a personal trainer and someone who has a history of extreme types of dieting and extreme types, you know, like if you guys are not familiar with like bikini competitions, it's like the girly side of bodybuilding. And that's what I did. And there was so much extremes in that, and bringing your body to a place that it truly, I don't think was ever intended to go. And then going from that, and now, you know, that's where I was, and now I'm trying to transition back into, okay, where's my body actually supposed to be? What is my body asking from me in terms of not just aesthetics, but health, and also what is my mind asking?
Totally. Well, and I was going to ask you that, and, you know, forgive me if I'm like putting words in your mouth or asking a question that kind of, you're like, no, that's not what I think. But I feel like how do I ask this question? For example, I have a friend who wants to lose weight, and he has talked about how he's scared. One of his many fears is that when he gets to the point that he wants to be at, he's going to find out that he doesn't really actually feel any happier per se, or that it wasn't worth it. And I was telling you earlier that, like, and I know this is a bad example because fitness and really focused dieting is different than an eating disorder, but when I got to my thinnest, when I had eating disorder tendencies, it wasn't worth it. I don't know if it's because that's night and day difference, but I was just like, yeah, like I really don't even care that much. And it made me think about the fact that I know you only did bikini competitions one round. Yep. Did that have to do because you got to a place where you were like, and this is not worth it? Like, all of that work and sacrifice to get to this level, like, I don't need to be here to be happy. Yes. I don't know what I'm really asking.
No, I have so much to say, so don't worry. Okay. So, I've literally worked with over 1,000 people at this point, and this is a process that I go through with people where people come to me and they're like, I want to look this amazing way. Like, we get a picture in our heads and we're like, I can do it. Like, I know I can do this. I can push myself and I can look this amazing way. But there is, it depends on who you are, but there's so much work that can go into it may take so much to look a certain way. Yeah. To have like abs, like super cut abs and like a nice big butt. It may take you working out 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. It may take you eating an extremely regimented diet. It may take all these things. And one thing that I don't think people ever ask themselves is it worth it? Yeah. Because we get so emotionally like tied to this body that we want. Like, nope, I don't care. I'm going to do whatever it takes. This body is so important to me, that we don't actually stop to think, but is it though? I think that when I went through my process as a bikini competitor, I was in a place where, I was chubby as a kid, and then growing up, I always battled my weight. So in my head, it's like, you always think of the one thing that really has slowed you, or you feel like it slowed you down in life, or the one thing you're always insecure about. And so in your mind, you work it up to be this thing that, like, if I can fix this,
everything will be better.
Everything will be better. And if you have battled with your weight, then I know that you're feeling me on this, because you always feel like if I was just skinny, God, I wouldn't have any insecurities. Like, I wouldn't be sad anymore. Yeah. Like, at least at some point in my life, I know that was like a leading thought in my mind. And so with this bikini competition, which, by the way, just to give you an idea of what that required from me, I was literally like eating 4 or 5 small meals a day that were like very regimented. Yeah. And I was going to bed starving every single night. I had to go to the gym twice a day, 6 or 7 days a week. I would do an hour of cardio in the morning, and then I'd go back at night and I would do some weightlifting, and then usually another half hour to maybe hour of cardio. So like, I was beat.
That was like your life.
It was my entire life. Yeah. And so not even does it physically take up your time and your energy, but it mentally, it takes something out of you that I can't even describe unless you do it. It's like, I don't want to equate it to being in the military, but it's like something that just you're pouring everything out of you in order to make this thing physically happen. Yeah. And so then, I finish this process and I get to stage and I'm like, my body is super lean and super cut, and it was so cool, but it was like this weird out of body moment where I was like, well, this doesn't fix anything. Like, like I'm even more insecure than I was before, because now I've spent all this time focusing and micromanaging my body that now, if I'm even up a pound on the scale, I can feel it and I'm irritated, and now it's on my mind all day. Yeah. And looking back at that process, and after the stage, of course, you gain a little bit of healthy weight back, but I was always thinking, I got to get back to what that looks like. I got to get back to that body. But then there was a point where I was like, this is making you miserable. This process of trying to micromanage your diet, micromanage your body, going through all this mental turmoil, is it worth the body? Did the body really make that big of a difference in your life? Yeah. And that's just something that I ask my clients to go through. I say, what are you willing to sacrifice, and what is the outcome that you really want? Because that's, when it comes to changing your body, that's really what it is. You want a certain body, this is what it's going to take to get there. Is it worth it? Yeah. And if it's not, do not push yourself through that. Yeah. Because it's not going to pay off. You may think, well, this is really, really hard and I don't think it's worth it, but I want the body so bad, so I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah.
It's so interesting because you got brought up to my mom when she was in town this last time, and I'm really hoping I'm not throwing you under the bus, Mom, if you're watching this. You're probably not watching this, but if you are, we had this conversation because she was saying, like, for as well as I eat, like, I should be thinner than I am. Ooh. And I looked at her and I was like, should you? I was like, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if you know, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's two camps. There's either, like we were saying, the genetic unicorns, where it's just like, whatever, they're really blessed. Like, that's just what they are. Or people are working their butts off. And I was like, you're not. You may think I'm eating well, but you're not. I'm working out. No, you're not. You don't know what people who look that good are doing to get like that. So I think it's kind of a good reality check to know, like, oh, people that are in that position they're giving up a lot.
Yes.
So now, like, I had a salad. Why am I not losing weight? It's like they're doing so much more than just having a salad for lunch. Like,
here's like a cold hard fact, and I'm going to break some hearts with this, but as a trainer who's done this for years, most people will give 80% effort at most to a diet, 80% effort, and 80% effort yields about a 40% result. It takes a 100% effort to yield that 100% result. So that's what's, again, so frustrating about the whole, like, well, I want this body, okay, I'll put in the work. Unless you are willing to put in that 100% work, it's literally a waste of your time. Because if you're going to put in 80% effort, you're going to get a 40% result.
Or it's a waste of your time to expect that 100% result. Because, like, I feel like my whole life revolves around me giving, like, an 80% effort. You know what I mean? Like, I eat healthy-ish, you know what I mean? But then I'll have peanut butter cups, or, like, I'll decide, oh, I want French fries. Like, I am not giving it a 100%, but I'm also not expecting to look like a supermodel.
You've managed your expectation to where you don't have this pressure on yourself. Okay, I have to look this certain way. So then 80% effort's fine, you know, because your expectation is managed. But one thing I hear that from clients all the time, like, Lynette, like, I work out more than anybody I know. Like, I watch my diet more than anybody I know. I deserve to look a certain way. And here's another, like, just cold hard fact about, like, people's bodies. Sometimes you just don't get what you deserve in life. And, like, you know, everyone's built kind of differently. Growing up, I was always built kind of like more muscular, a little curvier, and I hated it growing up. As now I'm like, oh, I love it. But growing up, I actually always wanted to be built more like you, just like more slender, like a tall, slender person. And I bent over backwards trying to do it, and it would kill me that, like, people like Nikki existed without trying. I mean, not like without trying, but like, you know, you're not in the gym 6 days a week. And then I would just be like, well, I give all this effort. Why are there, like, celebrities out there that say they just do yoga twice a week and they look 10 times better than me? I deserve it more. When it comes to health and fitness, though, when it comes to a physique, it's so important to be realistic with yourself, and to also, like I said, let go of the outcomes. Let go of having to, like, micromanage your result and feel like I deserve a better result. The second that you get rid of that and stop comparing your effort to everybody else, the more you're going to be able to enjoy your process. Because now it's like, okay, I'm never going to look like Nikki, or I'm never going to look like Kim Kardashian, or whatever person it is that
those
you want to look
extremes.
like.
Nikki or Kim Kardashian.
Somewhere in the middle. Once you, like, kind of let go of that and just go, okay, what can I do that's going to improve on just what I have? You know, and once I let go of that perception of feeling like I needed to be, like, a model build, like I needed to be a super thin build, I actually was able to, like, appreciate that I was built curvy, appreciate that I was built kind of, like, thicker and more muscular, because it was like, well, this is the body that I was given. And there's nothing that I can do about it short from surgery or extreme dieting, and both of those are not going to happen in that sense. So once you learn to accept the body you have to some degree and realize, like, okay, there's things that I can do to change this in a good way, but it really just managing that expectation will just help so much of the agony. You guys, I work with so many clients who are just in agony over their bodies. Moms who have had kids and they're like, how do I get rid of this extra skin? You had a baby, man. Your stomach stretched out, and that's
Mom, if you're watching this, please hear what she just said.
You know, I mean, like, you know, so much happens with our bodies, and I guess just as someone who's been at a point where I had a body that so many people would deem as perfect, it literally was the most underwhelming experience I ever had. It was so, like,
so fascinating.
This didn't change whether or not people respected me. This didn't change how much my husband loved me. This didn't even, you know, I didn't even win a trophy from this contest, because there were other people who were genetic unicorns that just ended up placing better than me. There were, you know, there was all these things that I had to weigh out and be like, let's be logical for a second, Lynette. Let's step away from the fact that you wish you had no cellulite and let's actually face, okay, so what does it mean for the fact that you do have cellulite? And it's nothing. It's these own insecurities that we dwell on, that we get so focused on and hung up about, that you know, like, I get it. We all have insecurities. I'm not saying to, like, oh, just accept your body and don't ever care that you have insecurities.
It's like this.
It's natural. There's nothing wrong with you for having insecurities, but when we get so hung up on them and we trick our minds into thinking that if we can fix them, it's going to fix anything else in our life, or even that it's going to equate to happiness.
Yeah.
I think it's just something that we just peg our happiness onto. It's easier. We can control our body. So if my body is fixed, then I will be happy. And I just can't even tell you how many times I've seen that process go through and everyone just be like, wait, this didn't make me happy. This actually made me really upset.
Well, you're making me think of two different things. So the first one, these are such extremes, okay? So my first thought was like, I'm reading this book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, and I'm like a couple hours in. It's great. Super crude, like the title, like he purposefully says the F word like all the time. But the concept I think is really fascinating around like just basically he's like, it's not that you really don't care, like you care, but it's like choosing where to put your care in things. And he's like, haven't you ever noticed that like people that don't care about something, it's like, man, that flourishes for them. There's like this emotional detachment. It's not their everything. They're not like obsessing over it. But then, so that thought kind of then led me to thinking about something totally opposite, but it led me to thinking about God. And so to those of you that don't know me very well, I'm a Christian, Lynette's a Christian, and I started thinking about how really anything that you obsess over or think is going to give you joy outside of your relationship with the Lord, like it's not. And so I think that that's kind of just an interesting concept for everything outside of fitness, is to not dwell on anything too much or expect to really get a bunch of happiness out of it. It's just like, I'm just riding it out. I'm going to enjoy it the best I can. You know, lay out my life, take the steps I need to take. You look like you have something else to say, because I won't forget my
I was going to say, this might sound like, and if you're not a Christian, then like this may not relate to you, but I think that this can relate to everybody on just a soul level, is that the things that we want in life, the desires that we have, come from like a void in our soul. There's something in our soul on like a deep level that we want, and it's not like a body, it's not a house, it's not a child. There's some lack of satisfaction in our souls that, as a Christian, I believe ultimately is closeness in relationship with God. Being in unity with God is what's going to bring that feeling to like a place of peace, to where you're not feeling this like compulsion towards a body, a house, an income, a person, where you feel like this is what I need to be happy. When, you know, it can be your body. It can be, if this guy would just like me, if I can get this guy to ask me out, like, oh, I'd be so happy. Or if I could just get this promotion, or if I was just making 6 figures, like, oh, it would fix all these things, when really, I know I'm a young person. I'm going to be 27 this year, but I've had
I'm old and wise. I'm 30.
We've lived a lot of life. I mean, it's interesting how much life you really can live in this day and age between 20 and 30. And I've just recognized that every goal I would set for myself, I'm a super results-driven person, so I've achieved a lot of things that I've set out for myself, and every time I arrive, I don't even enjoy it. It's like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing that I can get that's going to make me feel good? And at the end of the day, it is our souls having that void that needs God. It needs to be satisfied with a relationship with God, honestly. And again, if you're not like a believer, this sounds super like woo-woo, but like, you know, even if you're not a believer, that your soul cries out for something, and it cries out for something much deeper on a satisfaction level than just the stuff that the world offers, you know? None of it
really, I mean, I literally was about to repeat what you said. I'm just like listening and I'm like, yes, preach. So, okay, I agree with all of that. The other thing that I was going to say, which is completely separate, kind of going back to what you were saying about like seeing people and being like, oh, they're a unicorn. Kind of random. I just want to put this out there that there are a lot of people online, there are celebrities, there are people that lie. And my mind is exploding thinking like, there are people that are looking at this person thinking, what's wrong with me? I've done, you know, so many squats and I can't get a butt like that. And it's actually interesting, we were talking about all the beauty treatments I get. Like, that is a huge reason why I'm so open with my beauty treatments. I mean, you can totally disagree with them and think that it makes me horrible and vain, but like, I love doing them, and I'm like, I feel like I have to let people know that like, I didn't just wake up this way. And you have to know that there are people out there that are comfortable with making you feel like they woke up that way. And that's really unfortunate, but it's a good filter to kind of have. There are celebrities that also happen to be those genetic unicorns where it's like, dang, you never break out. Like, you're so thin and you naturally are like muscularly toned. Like, and that's amazing for them and great. And then you just, fight to not feel jealous of that. But like, there are a lot of people that will lie. There are a lot of people that have eating disorders and they don't feel comfortable sharing it. So all you see is their thin body. And so I think, we were literally having this discussion today. It's good to also keep that perspective that you really don't know if what you're seeing is the full story or even true for that matter. And I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think that in the day and age of social media, we have this perception that we know everything about everybody. Mm-hmm. We think that, especially for people like YouTubers, we put our whole lives online so you guys feel like you know us and you can trust us and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying you can't trust. You can trust us. We're the only two.
We're the only two on the whole internet.
But, especially in the fitness industry, I mean, sex sells, body image sells, and so I can't tell you how many people that I know for a fact Photoshop their pictures. I currently have a client who came to me because her last coach was Photoshopping her own, before and after photos, the client. And the client saw her photos being advertised, and she's like, I don't look like that. And she came to me because she was so horrified that the coach, it just completely discredited her work. She'd worked so hard for this body.
That's really sad.
She had this after photo, and the coach Photoshopped her skinnier.
Yeah.
And she was so upset about it, and I don't blame her. But again, it's it's a false image. It's not what people think it is. People don't know the whole story of everything that they see. So it is always good. I don't want to say to look at everybody with a suspicious eye, but just know that you just never know the whole story.
Yeah, don't get that invested. It's really just cool, whatever, awesome.
Gain what you can from people.
Yes.
But if at any point you're feeling you have a weird vibe, or even you're feeling like they're making you feel a certain way that's negative, like I'm not good enough or they're better than me or whatever, you have to shut that down because, again, you just don't know. You don't know the full story. They could be in a worse position than you are. They're just better at faking an illusion of something really amazing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. It kind of makes me think about social media, and that's a really great perspective to have in general with all of social media, is that, it's a tiny little, not even just a snapshot of someone's life, but a lot of times it's it's the best snapshot. It's the most pristine, edited. I mean, I love editing photos. I find it fun. It's like a coloring book. Yeah. It's so cool. But it's but that's not my life. You know what I mean? And I think that it's this weird dichotomy of in some ways, social media is amazing. You can make relationships. She's the same in real life. It's really a trip. There's also, on a side note, there's a second level of bonding. Not to say that everyone that's a Christian, we're automatically yes, but it's also okay, I know that she believes the same basic things that I believe, and there's certain things that she'll stand for and not stand for. So it's a little different, but at the same time, so social media can bond you to people, but a lot of it is just, it's fake. They're not real relationships. They're not real people. They're not, and so you just have to remember that what you see, it's this doesn't mean that's real.
Right. I mean, you may be bonding online with somebody on social media, and you could be bonding with a curated version of them, or a people-friendly, user-friendly version of them, because of course everybody wants to be liked, even if we're not admitting it or even if we're not recognizing it. It's a human need and desire to be accepted by their community. So, we're editing photos, and not even necessarily in a bad way. I'm not even saying we Photoshop, but making colors brighter, making life seem good. And again, it's not to, at least for somebody like us, it's not, I'm going to make everybody so jealous of my amazing relationship, or I'm going to make everyone realize that I am the goddess of health of the earth with my amazing lunch. But even showing joy in our lives, or things that we have that are nice or whatever, can bring an illusion that
that's it.
That's it. Or that I can't even tell you how many times people have reached out to me and been your life is so perfect, you have the most amazing husband, or I'll be complaining about something in a video that's just been bringing me down, or me saying I'm just going through a rough time right now, and people will literally lash out at me being what do you have to complain about? Your life is perfect, blah, blah, blah. And even some people watching this might be feeling well, Nikki's life is perfect though. Lynette, I follow you, your life is amazing. You don't have my struggles. But there's been so much that has happened in my life behind the scenes, and I even, having not known Nikki personally super long, I know stuff that's gone on in her life behind the scenes that never makes it to the camera, never makes it to social media. Yeah. And so your image of what it is that we bring, it is our true selves. We are our true selves on camera. We are our true personalities. Yeah. I just know that about us in particular. But that doesn't mean that every single struggle that we've been through, or that, that there's been stuff that we've gone through that you just don't know about, and that you might be making certain judgments, and not just about us, but about people on social media in general. And I don't want this to come as like an offensive, like, you guys don't know anything, but like, you know, it's just something to consider as a person who I used to be that girl. I used to be the girl who would view people on social media and be like, that she has it all. And you can't tell me that she doesn't, because I can see she has it all. Yeah. And in my opinion, if I had X, Y, and Z, it doesn't matter how bad my life got, I would always have X, Y, and Z, and everything would be great. And now getting to a phase in life where I have the things that I always wanted, and realizing like, oh, it's still not as glamorous as it may seem. And just knowing that for myself, I know then for other people, it's not as glamorous as it seems for them either.
Totally. And like Joyce Meyer says, even when you hit those goals, you know, like you said, set a goal, you hit it. I know you were just talking about something totally different, but it's all kind of the same thing. It's like new levels, new devils. Like then you hit, it's like then there's something else. So it's like, great, you have the life you always imagined. Well, now you're dealing with different things, you know? It's interesting.
One of the best pieces of advice that I ever got from a friend that like I still remind myself of when I'm getting frustrated with where I'm at in life, or when I see other people have things that I want, the best piece of advice I ever got was that you will never arrive. You will never arrive. You will never, in your head, you might be thinking, yes, I will, when I get this body I want, when this guy finally asks me out, when I finally have all this stuff, like, watch out, ladies, once I get this all in order, that you won't arrive, because you'll come there and it's new levels, new devils. And, you know, someone telling me that, though, maybe for you, you're just like, that's horrible news. I want to know that this struggle ends. But the good news is that, you know, it takes the pressure off of everything needing to be perfect.
Yeah.
It won't be perfect.
And that's actually, they talk about that in that subtle art of not giving an F too. He basically just says, like, life just kind of sucks sometimes, like, or in general, like, he's like, that's the weird thing about social media. Like, maybe 50 years ago, he was like, you know, grandpa would be like, my day sucks, and it's like, oh well, back to work, like, it sucks today. But now it's like, my day sucks, and then you open up your phone and you see all these people leading their fantastically amazing, perfect effing lives, and it's like, oh, is something wrong with me? Like, you wonder if something is wrong with you for feeling like your day sucks. But first off, life just sucks sometimes, and the sucking doesn't ever go away. New levels, new devils. But along with that, and this is something that I'm really experiencing in my life right now, is like, if you just accept it and you just don't get that worked up about it, it's just like, oh, well, life's always just going to kind of have like a little bit of a sucking highlight through it, and sometimes it might suck a little more. At the same time, there's also new excitement. If you're always evolving and growing and changing, you're also experiencing new excitement and changes, and it's thrilling, and it's really like, wow, look at what we're doing now. Like, this is so cool. But it is going to come with new things that suck. It's not like, now everything's really cool and all my suckiness is behind me. It's like, it's just new suckiness now, but there's so much excitement to go along with that changing and evolving and new levels as well.
I would say perception is really everything. You can go through
I feel like
life.
I'm always like,
so wise, much sage.
I'm trying to think of a joke to make back that I can't. Anyways, you're right. Perception is everything.
Perception really is everything, and it's not, this is going to sound super corny and you've heard it 1,000 times before, but it's not about the things that happen to you, but really how you respond to those things. And now I feel like we're shifting all over the place, but that's just like what happens for us.
Welcome to our 6-hour restaurant conversation yesterday.
You know, it's when it comes to whether or not your life is good or it isn't good, a lot of times I think we start to become victim of our circumstances, and we feel like, well, I can't be happy because of X, Y, and Z happening to me. But when you change that perspective and recognize, like you said, like, there's just going to always be a bunch of suck in your life in a million ways, and I don't say that to be negative or just like, well, this is just life, like, that's just what you have to accept. But like, once you change your perception, it can change everything. So like, for myself, there's been a lot of little things in my life that have been something that really made me depressed for a long time. Those things have not changed, but how I view them has changed.
Ding, ding, ding. Like I was telling you about my pain yesterday. I think it's a little more complicated. Like, I'm on medication now, but still, I still deal with all the same pain. Go on.
You know, it reminds me of something that I heard from Tony Robbins, Tony Robbins, but if you don't know,
I went to his conference, right?
Yes.
But it was like a bait and switch.
Yes.
Because I love him. Love you, Tony, if you're watching this, which you're not. But like, I literally was like, what's happening? It's like, F this, F that, F you, F this. I was like, Okay, go on.
Well, I listened to a message of his that was like slightly less cussing. Still
Yeah.
slightly less.
Oh, it was like next level, and I'm not even that offended by cussing, but I was like, oh my gosh.
Whoa.
Okay, go on. So Tony Robbins, he's great.
So he talked about, I was listening to him recently, and he was talking about perception and how your perception in life is what makes or breaks. So it's not your circumstances, it's 100% how you deal with the stuff that comes. And so he was talking about a guy, you know, or I guess he put it out there. He said, what's the worst thing that could happen to you? Like, if you were to think in your head, what's the worst thing that could happen to you that would just make you feel like life was over? And he said a lot of people would answer, well, if I got chronically ill or like lost a limb, like if something happened to where like I couldn't do things in life anymore, well, that would just be the end. I'd be so miserable. I couldn't do what I wanted in life. Like, that's enough reason to believe that like my life now sucks. And so he told the story of this guy that he knew who was like doing really well in life. He had a fiance, and one day he was driving in a car with a friend. His buddy was driving. His buddy fell asleep, crashed the car, and he became paralyzed. So here's this guy, like, has good things going on in his life. He's engaged to be married, and so he's thinking, I can't ever walk again. I can't do, you know, he's young, and so he's thinking, there's nothing that I can do for the rest of my life. My fiance is going to leave me because why would she want to sign on for a life like this? But he decided, this is not going to change my life. Wow. He got married to this woman. She stayed with him. He ended up, like...
I was wondering if I'd be strong enough to do that. I'm like, I hate myself. Would I be strong enough to do that?
But it's so good to remember that the possibility's always there. Yes. It's not self-limiting. This guy decides, I'm going to live my life exactly how I want to. He ends up being super successful. He goes skydiving. He goes scuba diving. He goes he does all these things.
Oh my God.
To where, and then Tony asks us, okay, so was him losing his leg the worst thing that ever happened to him? Because the answer is now no. This challenged him to step outside of his perception and to press for the best life he could possibly live. And he loves his life. He went on about all the other amazing things about this guy's life, but basically this guy was living his best possible life, even as someone who was stuck in a wheelchair. Wow. And this is obviously an extreme example. And again, people feel like, well, he just had a positive attitude. I'm not like that. Anything is possible with your mind. Totally. And if that guy can swing a cool life with like being in a wheelchair, then you're going to be okay if some dude doesn't text you back.
Yes.
Or like if you have like more stomach rolls than you would like.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
And when you simplify things like that, it hurts because we feel like we have to give dignity to our struggle.
Totally.
And it's not fair. It's not fair. But when you let go of that and say, what can I do to just still have like a bomb life? And really go after the things that you can control and keep focus on that, as opposed to this is the suck in my life that I can't fix or change. Perception changes everything.
Completely.
So I guess I just challenge you guys, and this is not even the end of the video as far as you know, but I challenge you that if you're dealing with something, like I feel like whenever someone talks about the sucky parts of life, you're probably identifying in your head like, yeah, I do have a sucky part in my life. Like my relationship sucks, or I have problems with my kids or my family or my parents or whatever. Try to find what else in your life has nothing to do with that, and how those other areas can be amazing, and how you can focus on other things in life to feel like you have a cool life. Like you can be a wheelchair-bound scuba diving guy.
Yeah, wheelchair-bound. Well, and as you're saying this, like perception, so I don't know if this is any of you guys, but when I used to hear that, and I was in this, like I told you, like that darker 2.5 years of my life that I came out of, I would just almost beat myself up. Like, what's wrong with me? I'm trying to change my perception. And I was telling her yesterday, like, previous to those 2.5 years, I feel like I walked around in life wearing glasses that helped me see everything as beautiful. And then I went into this really dark period where it was like someone had taken those glasses off and smashed them. And no matter how hard I tried to change my perception, I couldn't. And I was just like, why am I not getting back to my old self? I'm trying. And then I kind of slowly came to this realization, by the grace of God, because it wasn't just me, you know what I mean? But I started realizing, oh, my circumstances needed to change. So even though I do believe that life kind of always semi-sucks, because in this book they made a good example. They're like, let's take something like, you know, okay, you've started to something good. We're going to start doing date night, me and my spouse, every Wednesday. Well, there's going to be some new frustration. So now it's like every Wednesday you have to pick out, okay, where are we going? How are we going to get there? Who's going to watch the kids? Did we budget the money? Like, is the car have gas in it? Oh man, the car broke down. Like, oh, the weather. Like, that's just life, is just challenges and how you choose to view them. But if you're feeling like life pretty much sucks all the time, I think it's worth evaluating, is it as, not simple, because it's not simple, but like, is it as simple as just like, I need an attitude adjustment here, I need to refocus on the things that are going well, or even considering, am I out of alignment with the life that I really want to be living, and does something need to change? Because for me, that's what it came down to. It wasn't just like, come on, Nikki, change your attitude, change your attitude. I couldn't, because I wasn't living the life that I needed to be living anymore. I needed to make a change. So like you said, action, goals, like if things really suck that bad, then really consider what you can change, and you can probably change a lot more than what you at first realize you can. I can't do that. I can't just up and move across the country. I can't just do this. But it's like, you can do a lot more than you probably think you can at first reaction. Miraculous things can happen, and you can just, you can create a lot in your life.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially as an online trainer. Of course, I know that there's so much change that a person can make just in like a physical level with their body by choosing to do the things that they want to do, but all the time, and I actually just made an Instagram post about this morning. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I did.
But like, people will always say to me like, oh my gosh, Lynette, like, how are you
so
get the
motivation?
Yes, how are you so motivated for the gym, and how do you get there every single morning? And like,
I get up and go.
Yeah. And like at the end of the day, it's like at some point in my life, I recognized that being lazy and lethargic was making me feel sick. It was not going to lead to better things for me. I realized that it was making me depressed. And yes, you can just try and change your perception, and maybe you'll have luck doing that. Or you can look at the habits in your life, really, because it's the habits that control our outcomes. Look at the habits in your life and say, is there anything that I'm doing that's contributing to this depression? Or is there anything that I'm not doing that could really help this? And when it comes down to that, once you recognize those behaviors, it's on you to change that.
Yeah.
You can continue to complain about, oh, life is hard, life is this, life is that, but if there's something that you know will make a benefit in your life, and you're just waiting around for like, I don't know, witchcraft and wizardry to come and make you feel motivated to do it or whatever, you're going to wait forever. If you're waiting to feel motivated to change, if you're waiting for someone to give you a permission slip to move across the country because that's what you feel like is in your heart, here's your permission slip. Like, I'm giving it to you now, because that you need to just do what's in your heart, and you need to do what you think is going to make you feel more aligned with your whole life, the path that you know you're supposed to be on. And there's no use in complaining and being like, oh, I'm stuck, I feel this, I feel that. I mean, not to take away from that suffering, because it's so hard and it's so sad when you're in that position, but truly analyze your life and know that you're the boss of it. You don't need permission from other people or your parents or your friends. You don't need their okay. You can do whatever it is that you want with this life. And I just really, I'm so bad, I'm going to say, I challenge you again.
She's got a lot of challenges for you today.
To take control of the reins of your life, and to really make habit changes, make choices, make decisions that will support a happier life for you, and just do it.
Yeah.
Just freaking do it.
Because even if you're not making those big decisions to make changes, you're making decisions every day, whether you realize it or not. And so they're either just kind of keeping you where you're at, which things that are kept where they're at, like stagnancy, I don't think that's a word, made that up, is not really stagnant. You're falling back. If you're not moving forward, you're falling back. And that's a depressing feeling. And it doesn't have to be this big, huge thing, but also it can be. Yeah. I can't even believe. I mean, I feel like I was driving her crazy yesterday, even though I know I wasn't, because I'm just like, my life has gotten so much better over the last like 10 months, really, between when we made the decision to move and then we made the move. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm coming to life. And it kind of just keeps getting better. Like, I couldn't even believe. I thought it was really interesting. As a generalization, I hate traveling. Random example. I didn't even feel like any anxiety coming to visit you. Now, part of it is because I was just like so excited to meet you in real life. But it's like, I'm also just so much calmer in general now. And my life has gotten so much better. And I can't believe it's just because I made a decision, and making that decision has given me the power to feel like I can make other decisions. Like, it creates this, like, I don't even know.
Like a domino effect.
Yes. A domino
and also
effect.
Gives you trust in your own intuition.
Yes.
That's what I was saying to her yesterday, was that when you make these big decisions and they work out for you, you gain strength and trust in your own like gut decisions. Like the things that are kind of in you, they're like, maybe I should do that. You'll learn to trust that more and you'll act on it quicker. It's like a muscle, your intuition muscle. Yeah. When you first start using it, you're going to feel like, am I doing the right thing? I don't know. But the more that you practice it, you'll learn to hear that feel that more clearly, and you'll have clarity on the things that you are supposed to do, and it will be easier as time goes on to kind of follow those instincts and to make quicker changes, and make different decisions in your lives that are going to really benefit you. Because I mean, at the end of the day, no decision is a decision.
Totally. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I guess wow, we went all over the map.
What are we going to call this video?
How do I tie this back to fitness? I'm like, on that, no. But it's all mindset. It all really ties together. And I don't know, I feel like that's kind of just like it. If you, what were you saying?
Well, I was just going to say at the end, what I tell my clients, my online training clients, is that the fitness journey is very similar to any other journey. It's not actually physical. It's completely mental and emotional. I tell clients, I could give you a plan and it would work perfectly if we could get your mind checked out and not get your emotions involved, but that's impossible because our emotions and our minds are involved in everything that we do in life, even something as physical as weight loss. I just lost my train of thought.
Oh, don't you hate that? Because I was being too loud. I was all, It's true though. I mean, but that's why even though you're right, I also simultaneously try to just nah, I don't care. Sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and I literally, or at night or just whenever, and and this is, once again, whatever, I'm not even going to preface it. I'll think Jesus, and I'll picture whatever I've constructed his face to be, and I'll just think about him, because I'm that is ultimately my goal. That's where I want my emotional investment to be. And you can't help but be emotionally invested in life and things other than just what you're picturing Jesus to be, but that is what I want my focus to be, and the rest of it I'm really working on being whatever,
let it go.
And it's not I'm whatever, there's a
carelessness,
but it's whatever, I'm just going to keep moving forward, making decisions and trusting that the Lord's going to guide my path, and try not to get too emotionally hyped and invested in things, because wherever God's going to take me is where he's going to take me. And that's not to take responsibility off my decisions. Yeah. But I've just realized there's a lot that I don't have control over.
And I think what I was trying to kind of get to is that when it comes to these types of things, your way of kind of dealing with them by saying, I'm kind of taking a step back in terms of having to control these elements. When we try to control things in our lives, mentally and emotionally control things, we put pressure on that decision-making process. So it's when you're, you could pass by a piece of cake every single day and not think twice about it, and then the second that you decide you're going on a diet, now suddenly you want the cake. And the reason for that is because you're putting pressure on yourself in this area. And as in general, I mean, some people say, I work well under pressure, but when it comes to things that are mentally and emotionally tumultuous, whatever, we actually don't respond well to pressure. Pressure makes us feel restricted, and it makes us want to just rebel and act out. So having that heavy pressure on your decision making and heavy pressure on all, kind of like what you said, it actually works against you. So being able to kind of take a step back and be all right, I have some things that I want to do, and I have some things that I would like to work toward, but I'm not going to put this intense pressure on myself to do things perfectly or to figure everything out right now, because I know that that's actually going to backfire. I know I'm going to overanalyze things. I know I'm going to react impulsively because of the pressure, as opposed to following my gut and being able to make things a slow decision, or really just following God on something, as opposed to I have to make it I'm going to do this,
Yes. No, you got to flow like a stream.
Oh,
yeah,
Lord.
because if it's stagnant, it's gross. It's moldy. It's not healthy.
That's true.
Keep moving forward. Keep flowing. But you try to do it not effortlessly, because things take work and things are hard. But yes, removing the pressure. I'm just going to keep flowing forward.
Yes, because if you're putting in work and you're putting in effort and work, it reaps results. And if you can have faith in that system and not put pressure on yourself for the outcomes, this is what my husband always tells me. He says, put in the work and don't worry about the outcome. You can't control the outcome. The only thing you can do is put in your best effort. I know it's a letting go, but I don't want to even think about the work. I want to think about the outcome, because that's what I care about. But if you put in the work, it's going to bring some kind of good outcome. It's when we try to control the outcome so finitely, finite, I don't know how to say that, but micromanage the outcome is when we struggle now to even focus on the work, because now we're second guessing the work and we're second guessing our methods, and learning to let go of the outcome and not have so much pressure on the outcome really just makes it easier, like I said, to just focus on the work, do the things that you're supposed to do to get to where you want to be, and it's a lot easier mentally and emotionally when you don't have that pressure on you, kind of making it really difficult.
Yeah, I 100% agree with all of that. Also, you know who else I agree with? So Dan, before I left town, he was like, do not start recording your Tea Talk with Lynette till you dump that memory card. And I was like, okay, Dan, he's all promise. I was all promise. I did not dump my memory card, and now it's flashing at me. Don't forget, if you're listening to this or you're watching this, I should have said this at the top, that all of my podcasts or all of these Tea Talks that I've done are now on podcasts. So I'll have the link down below. I'm actually in the process. I think I'm even going to upload old ones because some of you guys in the comments were like, I'd like to listen to old ones too. So now you don't have to use all that video data like on the train or the bus or in your car or the gym, whatever. So there's that. Second off, don't forget to check out Lynette's YouTube channel, her social media. If you want Lynette to train you, check her out. That was you training. I don't know. Check her out. And that's it for Tea Talk and Monster Talk. This has really evolved into something else, okay? Ashley just drank water. You're drinking Monster. What is this?
Next time we're going to come in with like champagne.
Hey guys, we're drinking today. So that's it.
Awesome.
All right. Bye guys.
Bye.